Well, it strikes me that there's no small amount of irony associated with the fact that the president is apparently being impeached in the House shortly for holding up aid to Ukraine, and at the same time, the Democrats are filibustering the defense bill, or say they're going to filibuster the defense bill, which we'll vote on later this week, which would provide for the assistance to Ukraine. With regard to the impeachment effort, I understand later today the Speaker is going to lay out a process which will outline what the House is going to do. We'll all be looking at that to see if it meets the normal due process standards you would expect to be provided to the President and his team, similar to what was provided to President Nixon and President Clinton in similar situations. The resolution is about due process, and it was critical, at least at that moment, we'll see what the House comes up with later today, about the way they were going to handle the case. Didn't deal with the merits, dealt with the process. So we'll have to take a look at what the House produces later today and see if it passes, frankly, the smell test of providing the kind of due process protections that the President and his team are certainly entitled to, just like President Nixon was and President Clinton was.
Are you committed to bringing the resolution condemning the House process to the floor?
Well, we haven't made a decision on that yet. I think the next step, as I just said, is to take a look and see whether the House is now going. Obviously, they've responded to the pressure that we put on them to try to handle this in a more transparent way that meets basic standards of due process that every American would be entitled to.
You have in the past pushed back when others outside this body try to tell you how to change the filibuster or how to run a Supreme Court hearing. How then is it appropriate for the Senate to tell the House how to conduct an impeachment?
We give them our advice all the time when we pass bills, when we critique their performance, and they do the same with us. Nancy?
Do you view the House impeachment inquiry as illegitimate?
Well, look, impeachment, as a practical matter, is whatever a majority of the House decides it is at any given moment. And it appears that the Democrats, emboldened by the new majority they've had this year, have been on this path for 3 years. The first headline I saw, I think it was in the Washington Post, before the President was sworn in, was that the impeachment process is beginning. So this is just further evidence that this is what they had in mind from the very beginning.
Lieutenant Colonel Vindman says that what he heard on the President's call, that conversation with the Ukrainian leader, was so concerning that he worried that it might undermine U.S. national security. Does it concern you? Are you worried about the President's behavior at all?
Look, I'm not going to question the patriotism of any of the people who are coming forward. The action is in the House now. We'll see whether they can, A, meet the due process standards, fundamental due process standards, and then see what they do. I think the vote that they're now going to have to open the impeachment inquiry will be very interesting. Will all the Democrats vote for it?
But what do you make of these allegations?
I said I'm not going to comment on the merits of what's going forward. We're watching what happens in the House, and we'll see whether they actually open this impeachment inquiry. Apparently they're going to vote on it later this week. It's going to be a very interesting vote.
Waking up, feeling the taste of our fire.